Good morning, everyone. This is the weekly Geo Scheduling Call with Rachel and myself. You can look forward to 45 minutes of scheduling entertainment. I just started to do announcements. It's fun.
I like those. I like those very much. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to do the billboard first. I've made my screen, so I'm working on a tiny screen, so everything's compressed where I can't see it, which is great. Right, hopefully you can see Firefox.
I can see some bits of Firefox. Yeah, there we are.
Okay, let's move some things out of the way. Okay, so things that got closed this week. Allow the log cursor to log to standard out. That's great. That was part of the Helm chart work.
Yep.
Verify uploads. That was closed because the new issues have been created and attached to the new epics, which is also good because we were able to figure out that that was actually way bigger than 11.
Yep.
And that's good to know now rather than when we're halfway through it. Investigate if updating the tracking database is necessary on secondaries. Yes, that's right. The related MR was closed, so we got that closed, and we determined about that it can. We determined that it can be done. Yep. It can automatically be run when upgrading.
Correct.
So done. Awesome. I'll go through those after the call and get rid of the GeoActive because we can move those out. And actually, I like doing this as part of this call because we can see the work that's been done in the week. And if it's closed out immediately afterwards, we can see that every week.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, in review, I need to close some things up here so I have some space. Okay. Support replication for Docker container registries. As far as I understand, the last, Valerie was busy doing the testing and what am I missing here? Oh, the merge requests just haven't loaded yet. There were 4 merge requests and I saw comments happening on the documentation one on Wednesday. So I'm assuming that that's a bit further since I haven't checked first thing this morning.
Yeah, my understanding is that when I spoke with Valeri, I think yesterday, that he is working on sort of testing the feature. And I think he's definitely on it.
Yeah. I know that he's focusing on, he's definitely back on that after being on the Sidekick stuff. He's waiting for a review on Sidekick from Camille, which I think must have happened by now, but he was doing this while he was waiting for that. Yep. Improving the general upload steps. You were doing that with having some fun with Danger.
Yep.
And
so this is actually waiting for, I think, Evan to have a look at what I wrote.
Okay.
So I can follow up and ask when this is going to happen. But yeah, that should be done.
Okay. Allow replication in object storage. So the demo happened yesterday. I need to still watch the demo, and after the demo, I'll make some comments as to what needs to happen next. And hopefully we can still get this done in time for this milestone and get that shipped.
I think that would be really good.
Yeah. No, it needs to. It feels like we're close now. Let's just try to push that over. Yep. And archiving old update steps. I think Evan's also the one we're waiting for on that.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm not going to open that up. Okay. Blocked ones. I spoke to Valerie about this one, and we agreed that he has enough to do on the Docker container registry right now. So as soon as he's finished on that, he will pick this one back up again so that we can finish that. The reason that this was blocked was because we needed access to staging. We have access to staging now. So either Ash, Tone, or Douglas will run this for Valerie, or I will just request staging access for Valerie to do it himself.
But should we then actually move it away from workflow blocked, because it's not blocked anymore? It's just not being worked on at the moment.
Yeah. So I need to put a comment on this asking which he would prefer, but to be honest, I think I'm going to just request that he get staging access so that he can do this himself.
Yep, that's fine.
So I'll leave this blocked on requesting staging access. Yep. This one also, this is blocked on the fact that we needed Devin to help us understand what's wrong with it, but because Ash is now working on getting the DR stuff organized, I don't think it's blocked, but I want Ash to figure out what we're doing first before I unblock this or move it somewhere.
I think there's also, I haven't looked at all of my comms today. I think there is movement on the related ticket.
Yeah, I also haven't checked my comms.
I don't know. Like, yeah, I have to double check. But I know that Ash is now on it, and we are in the process of putting a plan together.
Yeah. So those two I'm going to leave alone while the plan is formulated.
Cool.
Okay, in development, a rake task to perform omnibus upgrade steps. How many are in progress? 8. Just checking. Okay, 8 of them in progress. Right, so the rake task to perform these steps.
So I think so it is in progress, but I'm not sure if Tone has done any coding on this yet. Right? Yeah. So there's a lot of discussion about the upgrade steps and things like that. So we could argue that technically, like, I don't know if Tone has done any code on this yet. It's maybe something to follow up.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I know that because Andreas has been on holiday, it's the database reviews have been piling up that Tone's been taking care of. So I'll follow up on this one.
But I know that Tone is very active on the understanding of the update steps necessary in the zero downtime deployments. So in a way, it's really nice because there's a lot of discussion, I think, on what are the steps that we actually need to do and why do they exist in the first place. And that's, I think, definitely preliminary work before,
before the coding starts. Yeah. Warn on Git push. I saw a note from Mike that he had done one of the significant pieces for this that was merged. So I'm just, loading merge request is a bit slow today. Maybe I'm mistaken. I saw that there was something that had happened.
I don't know. I haven't seen any activity on this for a week or so.
What was the one? Because I know that he's been, there we go. He finally got this piece merged. So this is related to the warn on Git push. As far as I understand, this is related to the warn on Git push. And because this is finally done, I think simplify internal post receive. Yeah, so this piece is finally done, which means he can now come back to wrapping up. So he has been working on this. It's just that it's been on this MR.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And this is fantastic that this is merged because this was not an easy piece of work to do this.
No.
So that's really good.
I'm getting a little bit excited for 12.3, I have to admit, because this is, by the way, like, I actually really like this feature, the warn on Git push, because I think this is very sort of user facing. Every developer who uses Geo, even if they don't know about it, will then all of a sudden see on their command line what the delay is. And I think that's a really nice...
that's really good feedback, yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, root gives a 404. Yeah, I saw someone else pick this up.
Yep. So I think this is a community contribution as part of the hackathon.
The hackathon, that's what it is. Okay.
Yep. So when I saw that Lee was grabbing this, I essentially just pulled it into workflow in dev and GeoActive because that's what it is now. I'm not sure. I think there was some activity yesterday on it based on Tone's feedback on the MR.
I think what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to assign it to him so that it's clear that he's working on it, and I'm going to co-assign Tone to it because he seems to be helping out from an MR coach perspective.
Yep, I think that would be great. And I mean, we don't get that many community contributions in Geo, as far as I can tell. So this is wonderful.
Yeah.
I would like this to be prioritized.
I'm assigning this to you so that.
Well, to Tone.
Well, I'm going to assign it to him so that it's because he's doing it. I'm going to assign this to you so that it's clear to see who is working on it, and I will co-assign Tone as he is already commenting on your MR.
Cool.
Because he is already commenting on the MR, right? Yeah, there he is. Started a thread. Comment, assign. Lee, ticket. Why can't I assign it to him?
Lee. Is it because it's enterprise? Don't know.
Oh, that's special.
Can you just copy paste his username? These things always amaze me. Do you have to be part of a specific group?
We'll look into that and assign Tone in the meantime. Yeah, maybe he's just not in the right group. That's just bizarre.
Can't assign user outside of project to an issue. The autocomplete endpoint doesn't find this user. I think
how did you see that?
I just Googled can't assign user to issue, and as with all GitLab related question, you will find an issue from Stan. And so
okay.
Here.
Okay. But if I drop project ID, it works. Oh, I see. Okay. Internal customer. Copy link. I have the same issue at the moment here. Okay, right. Well, this is really good that we have a community person doing this. It's bad that it's now got a problem with the endpoint, but okay, we'll move on. Close tabs to the right. And also thank you to Tone for already taking a look at the MR. Okay, specs failing in master. I did ping Ash. There's still no movement on this.
Yeah, I think he can't replicate it.
I'm having trouble replicating. I've tried locally using the same doc images and without success. I'm starting to wonder, like, I mean, we're putting in a lot of effort for this and we can't actually figure out what's going on. So maybe we need to step back and look at what the spec is doing and if the spec is actually right.
I think so too. I mean, this is one of those things. It seemed awfully important and it has degraded in priority, and now we can't even figure out what's happening. So maybe I think that's the right call.
It seems that should I do this now, or should I just make a comment that I need to do this later?
Like do it now, then it's done. And
okay.
I'm trying to get into the habit of when there are things like this, just doing them instantaneously rather than. And it's essentially like pair work, which I very much enjoy.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, the priority of this has degraded over time, and let's see. issue.
Cool.
What's next? Consider alternative methods for replicating data. So when I last chatted with Douglas, he was working on a proof of concept over here. And I did ping the whole team looking for comments on this earlier in the week. And I see Ash has been commenting, which is great. And I updated the MR description with the next steps. Next steps to do: control the concurrency, put it in a flag, and add tests. Awesome.
Cool. I mean, so I had a discussion yesterday with Josh, and he, I think, made the good point, and we're kind of addressing this already, that I think one of the issues that we're going to face as a team, or maybe are already facing, is that adding new data to Geo is not so straightforward. And in a way, like at the moment, we are, I think, replicating less than half of all the data sources, right? So one of the questions, and this is a slight digression, but I think it's something that just pops into mind, is that...
Sure, I am listening, by the way. I'm just reaching over here.
Is that as part of this POC and in general, I think we should probably start thinking about how can we make it really easy to add new data to Geo and replicate new data. And that can take different forms and shapes, but I worry that we will end up in a position where we're kind of the bottleneck and the gatekeepers for this, and that's not going to scale particularly well.
But I think that's why it's useful that Douglas is working on this alternative methods, because at the moment we saw from the Docker registry stuff, it was hard in a number of ways, and it's always going to be hard from the perspective that different data types will take different forms, and we're never going to be able to get past that. But we can make it easier from the Geo perspective of not having to do all of these things all over the place with the way that the code is now. So
exactly.
So this for me is a huge win, being able to clear this up.
No, I agree. And I think that maybe we can take that a step further in a little while and say, okay, what would it actually take to allow other people to think about Geo, right? How can we make it maybe easier, or like what is sort of the system for this going forward? Because I've seen this now at least twice where we looked at, how can we do custom hooks? And then it turned out, the implementation of custom hooks is actually really difficult. So we need to refactor that. That's another team. Now we're stuck, right? GitLab pages.
Well, the other thing that needs to happen as well is, and I don't know how to do this, but what I see is when people start talking about adding a new data type, we need to get involved in the discussion right then. And an engineer from Geo has to be involved in the design of whatever that is so that we know that we can replicate it. Yeah. But I don't know how to see when the teams are thinking about that.
No, but I think we can also think about like some things like maybe if a new data source is being added, we can add Geo to the definition of done, right? And say you are not done unless this actually supports Geo. And here is maybe the checklist or the process or whatever it ends up being in the first iteration that you will need to like consider, because otherwise it's not happening.
Yeah, and then they get an MR coach from Geo, and we treat it a little bit like a community contribution outside the team. Yeah.
Yeah. Or so we had a similar, it's not similar, but it's kind of similar problem in my previous place where, we processed a lot of biological data, and every bit of data looks different, right? It's essentially an ETL pipeline, and you need to normalize them and do all sorts of transformations on them. And if you have only one team that can do this, and other teams want to do other things, you're bottlenecked, right?
You get stuck, yeah.
You get stuck. And so then essentially the idea was, let's provide a framework for people that describes very clearly, if you want to do this, you will need to do these 5 things, and that ideally is then well documented and understood, and then people are empowered to do it by themselves. Right? I don't know if that's even possible with Geo, but that's maybe sort of a follow-on that I'll write up as part of this, because I worry a little bit that we will be outpaced.
Yeah.
So, anyways, digression.
Okay. Digression. Another digression. I have a coworker.
Hello. Oh, so sweet. Does Swift enjoy just being sort of close to you when you're sitting?
I think any time, but I think it's because I'm the person that's most likely to go on random walks and assign random treats.
Very, very smart.
Yeah. And she's allowed up here because there's a red blanket. Like the red blanket is her cue for you're allowed to be on something raised, or else she doesn't get on.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Cool. Last one. Cleaning up orphaned project repositories. I was reading this last week and my brain is... Oh, right. I had a discussion. So Valeri had done a bunch of work on this. And then I started reading that Gabriel and Douglas were starting to talk about different things. And I started to get concerned that now we were going to have to go a different route from what from what Valeri had already done. But after some discussion, we can merge, well, when it's been reviewed and everything, we can merge what is being done here, and the issues that may not necessarily be covered by the work that is done can be done as a separate issue. We don't have to go back and wait. So I'm much happier about this, and that's why there's this last comment. I will move this side discussion to a new issue because it is actually a separate issue.
Cool. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah. So that is everything that is in development. So I guess I now pass over to you. Shall we share your screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Share. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. Okay, so let's talk about ready for development. So the first thing is the FDW tables.
Yeah.
So I think, given that this is popping up relatively frequently with customers, I mean, there is a known workaround to how to deal with that, but I still think
it's not ideal.
It's not ideal, and I think Eric has been really good dropping in information on how this should look. And I actually opened a merge request for something unrelated here, which is to update to create a link to the troubleshooting guide when people are checking their upgrades, because I think that was also hard. It's like you check your upgrades, you get an error message, and they don't know where to go. So that's something that's in the works, but that's not the resolution of this issue.
And I think it's good that it's been added to the top, because I think it's important that it gets looked at.
Yep. Yeah. I also changed the priority, so we do this in the next release.
Yeah.
So that should be fine. I have to look at this.
Oh, this used to be called Dry Up Checksum Code a bit. And I thought that title was very ambiguous.
Well, it's not ambiguous anymore, I can tell you that.
It was just, I took it straight out of the comment that Mike made at the bottom, where it was just much more specific about what needed to be done. And I think that helps whoever picks it up to know that this is not an open request for please refactor all the things. It's please do this very specific thing.
Yeah, okay. I think that can be picked up, but I would probably move it down a little bit in here.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
Oops. Yep, and then this here is the the single URL one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like that to happen.
Yep.
That's still fine. And then create.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also okay. And then the configuration,
yep.
That's also okay. But I think we only have 7 in here, and I also moved away the verify uploads, so we can talk about that in the scheduling board.
There's one more on that board. If you go back and you go to the left. To the left.
Yeah. Oh, open, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one. What is that?
I don't know how it came. Ash is accelerating it.
Mentioned in merge request. Oh, he was looking at this with, I think this has come out of looking at that stuff with Jenny about automating. Maybe that's what it's for.
So let's have a look. Specifies git freeze, but sharing into running. So there's a version.
Yeah, it's a version
mismatch. So you set it to 2.8, but it actually uses something different. And this may.
I think what we should do, because this is something that's jumped in.
Yeah.
We need to. Yeah, what is the last thing on the MR there? A week ago.
The GitLab bot thinks this is false. Have you ever seen that?
No, that's a first.
I will take a screenshot and ping it in the Geo channel to Ash and say, like, whatever you did, the GitLab bot is not amused. Yeah, I don't know what the last.
Well, I think we need to figure out what is the right thing to do here, because clearly this is already in development. Because so I think that we need to correctly put it in the right column, which is in dev.
This looks like an item that is already in development.
Well, why don't we just assign it into the right place? I mean, it's clear that it is there. Oh, you're just going to say why?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, that's on the board. And I can also say.
Please add a weight.
Sorry?
Please also ask to add a weight, since you're doing a comment anyway.
Yeah. Okay. And then.
Cool. Okay.
And then we also should do
we also need the geo labels and all that.
Geo element.
Thank you.
Why have I?
How did you?
I don't know.
Oh, you know why? It's because you added it through a shortcut, and the labels panel didn't update, and then you went to the labels panel and typed into it, and it submitted back everything that was active. I think that's a bug.
I think that is a bug. Okay, open bug. Yep, you're right. And the reason for this is that I think until you reload, this is not actually going to be done, because they don't use any channels or.
Yeah, and I think that it's the work that maybe that workflow is not normal to do that, but clearly.
Yeah. I mean, if I can, like, I always feel like if I can do it, it should work.
Yes, I agree.
So
+1
that should be fine.
Okay, cool. That's done.
Okay, perfect. So this is also fine. All right. So the one thing that we need to do is, because the this is closed and it was on the build board here. If we go to scheduling, so I've rearranged the order of those items a little bit to fit with our priorities in my view. So I've done the following. I've essentially went to the newly found Geo upload verification sub-epic, which is making me very happy because it looks very clean. And so these are all the things that we need to do in order to actually accomplish this. And given how many other things we're trying to do, as I roughly assigned milestones to those, it may be a little bit wiggly, but I think this will take at least 12.3, 12.4, and 12.5 to actually get anywhere.
So the first thing I'm seeing is that in 12.3, there's already 8.
Yep.
15.
4, 4, 5, 2.
There's already 15 to do in about 18, to do in about 15 days.
Yeah, maybe this is, we can maybe remove this one here. But I also think we kind of need to start with this.
What, track the checksum counts? Okay.
No, I can move that to 12.4.
Yeah. Okay.
And we just see, right? I think this is sort of a rough a rough estimate, but I think it would be good to. We had intentions to do it last time, we didn't, right? So I think we should.
And it would be good to get started on it. So we're going to pull those. So shall we pull the top 2 of those in?
Yeah, I think that was the idea. Okay. So the first one is this one here. Add to verify, and this should correspond to this one here.
Yeah.
And this, by the way, is also a question if they need to be done so sequentially, because I'm not so sure, because
I don't think that they would need to all be done sequentially. I'd imagine that 2 people could work on these independently.
Exactly. And this is, I think, mainly because Mike did such a good job teasing out what exactly needs to be done. So that's also why I'm more confident that we can do maybe these 2 in parallel, right? And then actually that should be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay.
And then so the next one is this one here.
Okay.
I'll do that. And then the other bits here are, so this is the make it possible to deploy UHA clusters. This is the quality item from Jenny. So, and that's a question I had for you, because this is something that I think Ash opened. No, you opened.
So I have a catch up with Jenny this afternoon to ask about this. If there is, so you'll see on here, if you go down, I think you will see that there is a related discussion about this. Let me just find the related discussion.
Discussion 37?
No, a related discussion with the distribution team. What was it called? So what we need to do for that issue that you've got on the screen at the moment, sorry, is the plan was to take the Ansible project that we already have and update it to do HA stuff. And I'm still of the opinion that if there's no decision about the provision of project, that we need to just crack on with that.
Yeah.
But what has happened in the meantime, I'm sending you a link on Slack.
Yeah.
Where are you on Slack? Oh, you're at the top. There we go. Yeah. I have been pushing on with a discussion on Slack about productionizing the HA provisioning project. And I have asked them to please give this a priority of 12.3 or 12.4. Well, I'll ask for 12.3, but we'll see what happens. Just because any work that we do, it would be better to put it into the thing that's going to be for customers. And I'm really hoping that they make a decision so that we can support what they do. But if they haven't done it by the time we need to do this, then we need to just carry on.
Okay, but then I think what I'll do is I'll put in, this is very related to, we should wait for a decision on that issue before scheduling work in the Geo team. Is that right?
But before you push comment there, the thing is, I don't want to wait so long that we just never do anything about it.
Okay.
So I think the one option is either we wait until the end of 12.3, because then that's given them a milestone to get further.
I like that.
Or like if there's no decision in the next, like by the time we have space to do this, we should just do it anyway.
Or until we have capacity to do it ourselves. Capacity.
To do this ourselves in our Ansible project. In our Ansible project. No. You've written in the previous phrase to do this in our Ansible. I wish it was our Ansible, but it's our Ansible project. Yeah. Cool.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, that's great. Yep. Comment.
Okay, because then what I will do here is I will actually move this down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like here maybe, because it's not the next thing that we can really pick up. There are two small sort of documentation work pieces here that are part of the upgrade bits, which I'm actually happy to put on the build board. This one doesn't have a weight. That's not good, but I can give it a weight. That's a 2. But I don't know. This is actually something I wanted to discuss with you, because there is sort of, while we are doing all the work with Tone on the upgrading bits, we are sort of surfacing a lot of issues with the documentation that we should address, right? And they're small fixes, but I'm unwilling to do them until we have a really good understanding that what we're doing actually is correct, right?
Yeah. If you're uncertain about them, I think that we have enough with the 2 that you've just dragged on. We have enough for a week. So if you're uncertain about those, rather think about them for another week.
That's probably true. And then the question is, if we want to be ambitious, what about this item here? Because I had a question. I think it is ready to be done, but I'm still a little bit unclear what exactly is the task here that we need to do. Because
I think this is related to, there was a request, you put in a request to do an upgrade test.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is part of the upgrade test.
So the upgrade test for...
this is about the Helm charts. Yeah.
No, but this is Jason's comment that he had an issue. So Jason said in here, I bumped into this during that work. I ended up having to reconfigure replication and
the tables.
And the tables. And you said we need to perform an upgrade test from 12.0 to 12.1 to confirm what happens here.
Because those were the versions that he referenced in his...
Yeah.
Because the thing is, Douglas ran into that problem, and restarting the boxes solved the problem, but he didn't have to reconfigure replication in the table. No. So I'm not sure if this is the same issue.
But I actually, when I updated from 12. So I updated from 12.0 to 12.1 on my own Geo machines, and I had to reconfigure. I had to do the FDW table stuff.
And that's probably not in the documentation right now.
No. So I think, you know what, let me pull this onto the build board. because I think the task here is, like run an upgrade from 12.0 to 12.1 in sort of a standard setting.
Yeah, the non-HA version.
Yeah. Run upgrade for a non-HA version from 12.0 to 12.1 and document any issues with PG upgrade. Do we need to do the HA version? We did that already, right?
I would say just do the plain version, because if it's a problem with the replication in the FDW tables, that will be found without doing the HA version. That'll be found in the basic.
Application. Yeah. Okay. Comment. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
And then I'm just scheduling this because I would like that to be finished and closed and
cool. And then I think that's enough. So I think
I agree, because we go back to the board here.
I think that's plenty.
I agree.
No one will be bored this week.
No.
And Monday is Labor Day, isn't it, in America?
In America, yeah.
That's just Mike then. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Successful outcome, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we have plenty of things in the backlog that are ready to be done. So in terms of the planning stuff, the planning breakdown here. So I am going to work with Douglas today. I think we are going to upgrade his HA cluster from 12.1 to 12.2. And as part of that, I'm going to observe what the individual things that we... Are you with your microphone again?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, that's better.
So this is like something where we have no documentation on the Geo upgrade for HA. And I would like to document very clearly, like, okay, creating this documentation, what does that actually mean? What are the individual things that we need to do? So I work on that actually today. I haven't heard back here from the customer. I will need to follow up. And then I need to go through a lot of my solution validation items here and just make sure that they are in good shape. So that's me. I just need some time next week to go through that. For problem validation, the most important thing here is the user experience of the Geo primary web UI acceptable? So this is actually quite a bit of work for me, but it's, I think, useful. So as part of understanding if we need a secondary web UI, I'm actually going to work with Eileen and Michael from Google Ventures. And you can read the ticket here. I think you'll enjoy it, to do and perform a few qualitative user interviews over the next weeks, ideally, essentially exploring the local versus remote workflow. So I would like to see people actually in a remote office using GitLab with a secondary configured, and just trying to understand, when you ask them, hey, can you show me how you, for example, create new issues, right? How do you do that, right? And just to understand the vocabulary that people use when they interact with Geo, to understand a little bit further, do people actually know that they're using Geo or do they not, right? All of those questions. I think that will be actually really helpful to get sort of a baseline understanding of how developers in those companies that use Geo actually interact with Geo.
I think that will be a great activity.
I think so too. So that's, and that I think will help us really decide or go forward with some more impactful decisions, right? If we take away the web UI and people love it and use it all the time, well, then we made a mistake, right? But if it turns out that
so let's rather know before we make the mistake.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's happening.
Great. Okay.
And then there are just a few other things that I need to track here with garbage collection for container registries, restrictive, selective sync. So there's a lot of sort of probably bigger items in here that, you know, are making their way through to a stage where we can work on them.
Well, at least because we've got plenty that's prepared, it should give you some space, some headspace to be thinking about these larger things that are coming through.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, the things I'm thinking about are the restrictive selective sync, the primary web UI bits here, and I think then I'm also starting to think, or I would like to think about more, you know, the installation of Geo. And the promotion, demotion, and failover. But I delayed that a little bit to clear the decks. But I do think at the moment we have already probably a good 2 to 3 months of schedulable work.
Yeah, so, I agree with that.
Which is
great.
Getting to the point where we actually wanted to be, you know, and I think that's quite nice.
Isn't that nice? Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah, that's okay. It.
Cool. Well, yeah.
The last point is, it would be great if you could have a look at the what's next after 12.3.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't gone. I saw that email come through. I need to. I have a lot of comms backlog that's built up since I took Wednesday to go hunting for things.
Yeah, no problem.
So I'll get through to that today.
Yeah, I think the only essentially, I don't think anything will change in the near term, other than I anticipate Ash creating a number of issues for disaster recovery, and they will basically skip the problem validation phase because we already know that we're going to do this. And I think they will become schedulable really quickly because we want to push forward with those. And that means that in the scheduling board, you know, like maybe in a week or so, there may be new things that we know we need to do or like maybe in 2 weeks, right, for 12.4 that are related to disaster recovery. But we don't have those items yet. So
yeah. So I think, yeah, let's see what Ash finds. And but I'm looking forward to it. I think we've been waiting for this for ages, and just being able to push on is just so great.
Exactly. Cool. Awesome. I think that's all we needed to discuss.
Yeah, I think that's everything. So I'm going to stop the recording.